During the Black Plague, which struck London in the mid-14th century, the city experienced a devastating and tumultuous period. The plague, also known as the Black Death, was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis and transmitted by fleas infesting black rats. It resulted in a significant loss of life and had a profound impact on the social, economic, and cultural fabric of London. The disease spread rapidly throughout the city due to overcrowding, unsanitary conditions, and a lack of understanding about its causes and transmission. The first signs of the plague included flu-like symptoms such as fever, chills, and fatigue. As the disease progressed, painful swellings called buboes appeared in the lymph nodes, accompanied by severe pain and often leading to death within days. Londoners witnessed a horrifying spectacle as the plague ravaged the population. Mass graves were dug to accommodate the overwhelming number of deceased, and the air was thick with the stench of decaying bodies. The high mortality rate resulted in a shortage of gravediggers, exacerbating the disposal of corpses. The authorities struggled to maintain order and dispose of the dead, leading to chaos and distress among the living. Fear and panic gripped the city as people desperately sought ways to protect themselves from the disease. Quarantine measures were implemented, with infected households marked and sealed to prevent further spread. However, these measures proved ineffective in containing the plague, and many healthy individuals fell victim to the disease while trying to escape infected areas. The impact of the Black Plague on London's economy was severe. Businesses closed down, trade declined, and labor shortages emerged as the workforce was decimated. The breakdown of social order and the loss of productivity caused immense suffering and economic instability. In addition to the physical and economic toll, the plague also had profound psychological effects on the population. The constant exposure to death and the fear of contagion created a pervasive atmosphere of despair and hopelessness. People turned to religion for solace, while others resorted to superstitious practices and blame. The city's social fabric was strained, with suspicion and scapegoating leading to persecution and violence against minority groups, such as Jews. Religious beliefs and practices played a significant role in the lives of the people. The outbreak of the epidemic triggered a profound spiritual response among the population. Christianity, particularly Catholicism, was the dominant religious belief during that era. The Church held immense influence and power, and its teachings and rituals provided a framework for understanding and coping with the plague. The prevailing religious belief was that the epidemic was a punishment from God, a divine judgment upon humanity for its sins. This perspective led people to turn to religion for solace, repentance, and protection. Londoners sought comfort and guidance from clergy and turned to religious practices to mitigate the impact of the plague. Churches became gathering places for the afflicted and those seeking prayers, guidance, and spiritual reassurance. Masses, processions, and special prayers were organized in an attempt to appease God and seek His mercy. People engaged in acts of penance, such as fasting, self-flagellation, and pilgrimages, as a means of repentance and seeking forgiveness. The fear of death and the desire for salvation led to an increased demand for religious sacraments. Priests and other clergy members worked tirelessly to administer last rites to the dying and offer spiritual support to the afflicted. The sacraments of confession and the Eucharist became crucial in preparing individuals for their journey into the afterlife. The devastating impact of the Black Plague on London's population challenged people's faith and understanding of the divine. The sheer scale of death and suffering raised questions about God's benevolence, leading some to doubt their religious beliefs. However, for many, the epidemic served as a catalyst for a deeper commitment to their faith and a stronger reliance on God's mercy and providence. It is important to note that alongside mainstream Christian beliefs, there were also alternative spiritual beliefs and practices present in medieval London. Folk beliefs, superstitions, and folk remedies coexisted with official religious teachings. Some turned to folk healers, charms, and talismans in an attempt to ward off the disease or find a cure. These practices often blended elements of Christian and pagan traditions, reflecting the syncretic nature of belief systems during that time. The Black Plague also had a significant impact on religious institutions and clergy. Many priests and religious figures perished while ministering to the sick and dying, further deepening the sense of loss and disruption within the religious community. Overall, the Black Plague in London intensified religious fervor and shaped people's beliefs and practices. It heightened the importance of seeking divine intervention, repentance, and finding solace in religious rituals and community. The epidemic left a lasting impact on the religious fabric of the city and influenced the development of religious thought and practices in the years that followed. In London, the government and authorities struggled to respond effectively to the crisis. The city was governed by various bodies, including the Lord Mayor, the Court of Aldermen, and the Common Council. However, the understanding of disease transmission and effective public health measures was limited at the time, making it challenging to contain the epidemic. Initially, the government implemented quarantine measures to try and prevent the spread of the plague. Infected households were marked with a painted sign, usually a red cross, and the residents were ordered to remain inside to prevent contact with others. However, these measures proved inadequate as the fleas carrying the disease could easily move from one place to another, rendering the quarantine ineffective. As the plague rapidly spread throughout the city, the government faced logistical challenges in handling the growing number of dead bodies. Graveyards quickly became overwhelmed, and mass graves were dug to accommodate the influx of corpses. However, the shortage of gravediggers and the sheer scale of death made it difficult to bury the dead in a timely and dignified manner. The authorities struggled to maintain order and dispose of the bodies, leading to chaos and distress among the living. Efforts were made to address the economic impact of the plague. The government implemented price controls to prevent inflation and stabilize the market. However, these measures were challenging to enforce effectively, and the economic repercussions of the epidemic were severe, with businesses shutting down and trade declining significantly. The government also attempted to control public order and prevent panic and social unrest. Strict regulations were put in place to maintain law and order, including measures to prevent looting and violence. However, the overwhelming scale of the crisis and the breakdown of social order in some areas made it difficult for the authorities to maintain control. In summary, the government's response to the Black Plague in London was hampered by a lack of understanding and limited resources. Quarantine measures and attempts to control the economy were largely ineffective. The handling of the disposal of bodies and maintaining public order posed significant challenges. The government's actions were a reflection of the limited knowledge and resources available during that period, and it took many years and advancements in medical science before effective measures could be implemented to combat